Hey, welcome to this week's episode of The Green Room. Man, I am so excited because it's a special edition this week. We got a testosterone-filled room today with the building team. Man, let's give these guys a hand today. Woo! So I'm going to kick it over to Mark, and we'll get these guys introduced so you know who these players are.
All right, well, I'm Mark Reynolds. I'm the Executive Pastor of Business Operations here at Oak Ridge, and this particular building project happens to be my lead. And seeing how God's going to drive me through it, but He's provided me with a great team to come alongside of me and get this job done.
Awesome.
I'm Jim Kitt. I was drafted by Mark to be on this team because I have 40 years of experience in construction. I'm retired now, so as soon as I retired, he says, you're not retired, you're going back to work. Yeah. Wow. So I'm very proud to be part of this team.
Awesome.
And I'm Jeff Holliday, facility manager here. Kind of got drafted by default because I'm facility manager, but I do have about 25 years of experience in construction and construction-related industries.
Okay, very cool.
I'm Steve Berry. I was drafted by Mark as well. I'm currently employed by a local general contractor. Been in the construction industry for about 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And I'm Tim. I'm the tech pastor here. I've been here for 10 years now, and I'm responsible for all the AVL.
So what is AVL? So someone at home.
Audio, video, lighting.
Cool. Mm-hmm. All right, well, today what we want to do is in this special episode is talk a little bit about Build the Dream. It's one year anniversary of Build the Dream, and dive down into the specifics about what it is we're building, what phase that we're in, what are all the phases of this construction project, and address any questions that you might have. And most importantly, more important than anything else, we want to know the age-old question, what's wrong with my drawing? This is all I want to know is what was wrong with my drawing. And so we may discuss that. We may not cover that. We want to go over some of the questions. And let me just first, before we jump in to those, is again just point out these resources. This was in the bulletin today, the insert, giving us an update. The one-year update of where we are in the Build the Dream, which is primarily focused on the D of the 5 initiatives, which is to design that new live venue, which in this model is actually this section here that's pointed towards me with a connecting section, and I know you guys are going to fill us in on a little bit of the details there. But that's a $5 million price tag, and so we really worked hard to put that into a category that we knew would give us the ability to not only complete that, but ready to move towards the next phase as we jump into that. So we'll talk about that. But Mark, a little bit about how this process works financially. So we had a little bit of money left over. Talk about that. Why did we have some money left over that moved into the next phase?
Yes, many people remember from 2010, we had a capital project or capital campaign, spiritual growth campaign, with the vision of building a new sanctuary, a new worship area. And part of that contingency was to sell a portion of the shopping center. And as well, that portion never sold. So we really never took off with the building. And we had roughly about $2 million left from that. We did some other projects, the front portico, which was a part of the project, and some other projects to get ready for this. And even a lot of engineering and stuff was done preliminary with some of the money that was received from that original campaign. But we had roughly about $2 million that we had set in investments be able to roll into this current project.
Yeah, so it's really cool if you've been around long enough to be a part of that. I know a lot of folks will say, we raised the money, but we weren't able to move into that phase. But what did we do? And what's really cool is that we did a lot.
Yeah.
We really did an awful lot that prepared us for this next phase. And so that's really, really cool. And of course, some of the folks come in today, they just see the lobby as it is, and they're like, oh, this is awesome. Well, it wasn't always awesome.
Not at all.
But it really got us that step of preparation that moves us into this next phase. So I shared some of those numbers this morning that the way our campaigns work is we ask people to give a one-time sacrificial gift offering. That we did that and took up that offering on November the 13th. I think it was the 13th. It's in here somewhere. 11th, November 11th. And that day we raised almost $800,000 on that day towards it. So it was a tremendous boost of moving us forward. And then our members pledge an additional $3.4 million over the next 3 years to be given in any way that they want it. So that could be weekly, monthly, annually, quarterly, whatever that is. For me, that's weekly. I give every time I get paid to the Build the Dream, and so that will clearly set us up. Do you feel like to finish this phase and then maybe even get us a boost to move into that next phase? So I wanted to make sure people had this. And then also this booklet, we spent a significant amount of time giving you an overview. And especially if you're new to Oak Ridge and you haven't been around that long, highly encourage you, because the story of Oak Ridge is told on pages 6 and 7 in this booklet. And this story is some of the pieces we don't share in any other place, but when we do this. So it'll be a phenomenal resource to folks to be able to understand how we got to this stage. And so it's very exciting, actually, that we'll be soon breaking some ground and moving some dirt and doing man things. So that'll be a lot of fun. So
Well, the good thing is, I mean, we have the Build the Dream live website too, so that folks could go there.
yeah, so that's buildthedream.live. And so we're trying to put updates out there as we move along. And of course, in the first phase, it seems like nothing's happening. It feels like, gosh, that was a year ago. What the heck you guys doing? And hence the reason for the cheesy video is to help people know a lot's been going on. So talk to us a little bit about what happens in that first phase of that year. What all is done during that phase?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Keep it layman so that anyone can understand.
Well, I'm the interpreter.
You're the interpreter, okay. It's been packed. I mean, we have been, ever since the campaign, we've been busy, and really in the process, we're trying to put together complete documents, and I don't know how to be encouraging and say these are not the complete documents, that a builder can just pick up and run with it. And so we are involving not only our architect, we have a mechanical and electrical plumbing engineer, then we have another company that's our civil engineers, and then we have our audio video lighting engineers. And it's just a matter of designing, even right down to the doorknob. I mean, and so we are just, as a team, have reviewed, we meet on calls, just to put a collective document together.
Okay, so even these engineers and these groups that we're partnering with, even those folks, did we go through some process of selection? So there were multiple candidates. Did we do that for each of these, or?
Yeah, many of them there were that we had to pick from a couple. Some based on again having a collective experience of build people in the industry was helpful. Like, these are the guys we need to go with. Some have been on the original journey. That was a nice thing with our civil engineer. They had done a lot of the preliminary work on the other buildings, so it was just natural to roll right into and let them be a part of this process.
So this question came in, which kind of feeds right into what we're talking about, and it says, have we gotten bids? And when we talked about breaking ground in March, will we have contractors available then when we start breaking ground? So.
Yeah, Jim, do you want to answer
Yeah,
that?
the way it's going to go is when all these players that we just talked about, the mechanical and electrical and plumbing engineers, the architects, the AVL people, the civil engineers, they're the ones working on the project documents, or we should call them bid documents. They'll be the drawings and the specs, and there'll be a complete package, and that's what's supposed to be ready by the end of the year. Well, after Christmas, we're going to invite probably 5 or 6 local general contractors that are qualified, that we already have been pre-qualifying, to give us sealed bids. And then once we get those bids, and we're going to give them about 4 weeks to put together comprehensive bids. And when we receive those, we as a team will meet and we'll evaluate them all, and we'll look at several parameters on how we make our selection. Once we make a selection and get a contract signed, then the permit process starts. So there's a little bit of time before that and the actual shovel goes in the ground. But we're going to, one of my roles on the team is to push things forward. So Mark can tell you about that.
Doing a good job.
Well, Mark had asked, I need somebody to help me. Do you know anyone who's really pushy? So
Thank you.
I immediately thought of you.
I was a little nervous because everybody of them say, hey, Mark invited me or asked me. Then nobody said I forced them. It's like everybody sees me take them out to lunch, then they know they're in trouble.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, some people might say, well, I thought we already locked in because I saw a sign for Harkins way down on the Kmart shopping center. But a lot of folks don't understand that we're not only a church, but we're also shopping center owners. And so what's going on down there? What's happening with the shopping center?
Yeah, a lot of excitement on that end. You know, we all know, Kmart through their, all their bankruptcies and everything else, they terminated a lease and gave us back the building.
Well, some people may not even know that we opted.
Right.
We participated in an option for that and found it in our best interest to release them so that we would have all of the cards to be able to use that building and move forward into our future. So I think that was important.
Yeah, yeah. We had like 90 days. The moment they vacated, we had 90 days to kind of decide, all right, do we keep on with the lease, enforce them, or do we just go ahead and ask for the building back? And we kind of saw the writing on the wall. The best thing was get the building back so that it was ours and we could negotiate. So right now we have been in negotiations for several, almost 18 months now with someone to take over 66 of the 80,000 square feet. And then we have some others that are looking at the remaining square footage, whatever that, less than 20,000 square foot. So we've hired Harkins to come in as kind of a construction consultants to help us make decisions. It's a little different down there versus the church. The church, we know what we want in the church building. That's why we can do all the designing up front. We know everything we want in this particular building, so we can do a complete bid document. But we really needed a firm to come along and say, this is your best options, building this versus this, putting this wall up versus that wall.
But even for that, did we consider multiple?
We did. We went through, and as this team, what we've done is, this team naturally has rolled into also the construction of the shopping center side as well. I felt, why reinvent the wheel and grab a bunch of other folks when I have these folks with us? And so as a team, we took time to interview some other firms.
So suffice it to say that there are some pretty exciting things that could be coming down the road.
Yeah,
and so we would just encourage you, church family, to pray for us, pray with us as we look at what God's going to do in the next steps and phases of our future with the shopping center. And so here in a couple of years, things could be pretty interesting in the shopping center and really, really cool in mobilizing us into a future. So I'm very excited about some of those. But let's stick to the building for a little bit and talk about that. Were there any other questions that folks
this
had?
is a cool one, and I've actually heard this in the lobby when they seen the signs go up and they knew we were going to have new building coming in construction. They're going, well, wait a minute. We have this ditch thing here, and the land is so much higher. I mean, how's that going to work? Is there like an escalator to the new building or whatever like that?
That's a good question.
How's that going to take place?
I actually, when I was driving in the other day, because our civil engineering is the one that helps design that, and I've had a lot of lunches with them, and we've talked about it. But believe it or not, the level that the current church is, it's almost the same level as you go across towards the Exxon. So it's really weird. And I actually went across the whole land the other day and just kind of visually see it. But really, what's going to happen is, and you guys help me, is you won't see much of a change. It's all going to really be at the same level. Don't worry, the water won't rush in. And then what will happen is, it's about 7 acres over there. We're going to resituate the dirt across that 7 acres so that it doesn't look real weird. And we'll, because of code, we'll have different water gardens and that type of stuff to catch the water. And we are working on the mass flooding that happens on a downpour out here in the parking lot.
So that's disappointing. I thought we were installing escalators inside this, so that we could go up into the live venue.
That's not in the budget.
Yeah. Also, Jim's the one that keeps us on task on the budget. How about it, Tim?
Yes.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the pieces of this. That these are separate pieces, to my understanding. So tell me a little bit about each of these pieces and give us some approximations of sizes so that we understand what's happening here.
Steve, you think you handle what the different pieces are?
So the large portion in the back is the main sanctuary.
So that's this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. The connecting between the two buildings
Okay.
is sort of a nice transition between the existing building and our new sanctuary. And the front portion will be the lobby.
A brand new lobby. So and
Yes.
so all of this will feel seamless in its connectivity. So this is kind of that area right now. This is check-in here, and so we're going to knock out this big wall here. It's kind of this same kind of wall. What do you call these?
Pallet
things?
wall?
Pallet wall. Thank you. And then that'll be a large opening into the.
Yeah.
So what else is inside here then? It's not just all a bunch of extra lobby, is it?
No, right. I mean, this is important because I don't know who it was during the campaign talked about the amount of bathrooms we're going to
Yeah, right.
and if you can think about prefabrication buildings.
Pre-engineered.
Pre-engineered, sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I saved you,
Can't
Jim.
believe he did
I just
that.
had to wake them up a little bit, but we joke on the team that it's prefab, and it really, when he falls asleep in the meeting, we say prefab, and
it wakes him up.
It wakes him up, boom.
Yeah.
But
And
really,
so any of us know the difference. Everybody, you know.
Yeah, right.
The team knows the difference.
Okay, good.
yeah, this really we're working to help on costs of pre-engineered steel buildings, and so we're actually working with 4 separate buildings in the design. I mean,
Yep.
we have this is building 1, building 2, building 3, and believe it or not, because someone really touted bathrooms in the campaign, building 4 is another bank of bathrooms up in the lobby.
It was kind of funny because when I heard the video playing this morning and we made a joke about bathrooms
Yeah.
in there, people started clapping.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, there's not a week that doesn't go by. We hear you, ladies. We really do hear you. There's not a week that doesn't go by that we don't realize that.
And in our current configuration, we not only hear you, we see you.
Yeah, and that's not the best either when you're
Because
going
there's no
back to
privacy door.
Yeah.
We are going to have it more private.
Oh,
the
yeah.
next thing. Okay. Okay, cool. What else can you tell us about this? I heard a little bit of talk. I think it was you, Steve, was talking about seating and stuff. Talk to us a little bit about how that works.
There'll be 850 seats on the main floor with the potential for future risers
Okay.
of 150 seats.
So when you say potential of future risers, just so that people can orient, so the stage will be in the back of the building.
Yes.
And then the floor seating, now is it going to be a slope floor or flat?
It is not
Okay,
flat.
so it'll be a flat like we have today. And we using the same chairs? We getting some different chairs?
We'll probably have some different.
Okay, different chairs. All right. And some folks who've been around for a little while may remember we talked about a 750 seat. And it seems like when we went to the architect, they said there's virtually no difference between that and going ahead and configuring it that it could
Correct.
be up to 1,000. But we'll start with the 850 on the floor. And this area here that you talked about, a riser, what does that mean? Is that like in the theater, a riser?
Similar to the small risers in the theater.
Okay.
Yes.
So it'd be kind of like that. But we won't initially build that, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Potential future. So what will we do with this riser thing?
I'm not sure where we landed on that, if it's going to be a wall or a curtain across there. We've talked about a couple things.
Okay, so we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Some options, especially from the acoustic standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of discussion. You know, this massive room. You know, sound, lighting. There's a lot of heavy
Yeah,
conversation.
you're really hitting on a good topic because the type of church that we run, I know, get a lot of people watching online and that sort of thing. We really do need to think through our audio video lighting. And so,
Right.
Tim, do you want to talk about that? Why are we engaging in those conversations at such an early stage with the construction?
Well, it's important for the worship center to be, the AVL company, the audio video lighting company, to be a part of the building design for the acoustics and for sight lines and for the effectiveness of cameras and stuff like that. We're really pushing to be, have a good presence online, and it's important for us in that to be able to produce good video and audio.
So with that, are we going to strategically place all those poles throughout the
No poles.
throughout
Yeah,
the
we're
room?
bringing the poles from the
Yeah,
library. Yeah.
we're going to move the poles with us.
Yes,
Okay,
we
that's
are.
awesome. That's
No.
awesome.
You know, when you really think about it, especially with our venues and the people that are watching us online, we probably have more people or equivalent to watching us online now than
Yeah.
we do sitting watching you in a live venue.
We often have more watch us online than we have watch us in the live venue. Yes.
Yeah. And what's cool, not everyone got to catch this, but we did a baptism this past week of a gal who works on Sundays, unable to catch a service
Yeah.
ever, catches us every single week online, and then is able to watch the green room as well, and was able to complete first base membership class all the way through online, did all of that, and then called and said, hey, can I get baptized maybe during the weekday? And we're like, you bet.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really cool. And I believe that's where we're heading in the future. I think that this investment in a building that's primed for video, not just what happens in the room, but outside the room, is going to be a huge tool that God's going to use for us to reach literally thousands and thousands more people. So I'm very excited about that. So baptisms, we do a lot of baptisms. Are we going to have a built-in baptistry or a fountain in the middle? What are we doing?
We're going to set up. Actually, we spent a lot of time in this back corner designing the baptism changing rooms, a nice area for the baptism team to meet with the candidates. But we're still going with a newer kind of mobile baptismal, just because we love the excitement of baptisms, the change up of baptisms. But we're getting prepared to know right where some drains are, and we're going to focus some AVL to make sure that everybody gets to see it. It's a much bigger room. So we want everybody to be able to see that.
Now, what about, so thinking of this connectivity into the old building, and of course the theater will still remain intact,
Yes.
but my coffee is like a mile and a half down here. So what am I gonna, am I gonna need 2 cups of coffee? Because I'll drink the first one by the time I actually get to my seat. What are we doing with that?
Yeah, up in this corner, a lot of people know check-in, and the Grove is up in that area. So we're going to probably take a portion of that and kind of relocate the coffee to be central to the building. In addition, we're going to probably use some mobile carts so that mobile carts will be distributed throughout. So people in the theater will have a mobile cart probably, still working through. And that's a lot of prayer too, is not only are we building a building, but our ministries are thinking through every detail of a Sunday morning or a Sunday night to make sure everything's going to go off well.
So we're also, since we're reusing this building, it's going to be some interesting challenges as we do this. So talk a little bit about some of the challenges we might face as we move into these phases that will affect us on a Sunday.
Yeah, and this will be when I say, "Hey, Jeff, handle it on this Sunday," because we have dust everywhere.
That never happens.
But it is. I just hope people are patient in the season. We might have to relocate, check in, a little, be a little tighter. If we're touching the Grove a little bit, there might be some movement of the the kids that normally use that on a Sunday. And obviously the biggest thing's to be out near the parking lot as we're getting construction, that type of stuff. And one of the biggest thing is we all want to see what's happening, but we need to kind of be cognizant, stay away from the site, and we'll try to keep you the best updated.
So talk to me about, we're talking about building the live venue, the new live venue. Talk to me about the theater. Like currently right now, the theater's kind of in this corner up here, so to speak. So will that be kind of staying there? What will be happening in that section?
Yeah, I don't open that area with the exception of the movement of the cafe to be more centrally located. The theater will remain right there. Nothing's going to happen any differently there than that.
Yeah, I mean that's one of our newest renovations, so it's delivering what we want in that room, and we have a committed folks that love that room. So yeah, it's going to stay the same.
Can I just give a shout out? The theater is killing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shane McDade and then Zach Jones at 6 p.m. The theater is really killing it, and their numbers have been phenomenal. And it is accomplishing everything that we had dreamed about years ago when we wanted to move from just a video. We used to call it the video venue, which meant we don't know what it is. Basically, we only knew it had video. To its current structure is just phenomenal. It's a phenomenal blessing, and the folks that attend just love the theater. So
I like when you talk how it was outfitted, because it really is, and it's people are blown away when they walk in there, and the ownership that's been taken in there with the
And
with
Steve
the teams.
was heavily involved in the design and build out of that room. So
And
As was Tim.
that's one of the times where we kind of put the stake in the ground here at Oak Ridge and said, we need to outfit this room correctly. And so that's what we're doing with this next phase as well. Let's do it right for this next chapter.
And I think that's a good part, because that's what we said. I know it seems like it's taken a while to do these design documents, but we've pretty much given all the engineers and stuff time, because the more time we do up front, the more money we'll save on the end. And we want to do it right. And as a team, that has been our goal. Let's take the time, do it right, think of every avenue to make sure when we go into the building phase, we've thought of everything.
And in addition to that, we've got a lot of information from all the ministry leaders here. They've given us a lot of input on what their needs were. so that we could feed that to the designers and they could work that in.
And we said it at the beginning, but we spent a lot of time, sorry, Jeff.
No, you're good.
We spent a lot of time making sure we picked the right players, you know, like the AVL companies, the engineers and stuff like that. We put a lot of care into picking the right people that would be part of the family here, right?
So we as a body owe you guys a debt of gratitude for what you do for us on our behalf in really equipping and getting us ready for the future. So just a huge thank you for what you guys are doing. It makes a
welcome.
difference. And I know you are
do it.
putting a tremendous amount of work and effort and energy that people don't see behind closed doors, but it's certainly noted by the master. So thank you for doing that. Well, as we wrap up, the last thing is let's talk money. Money, you know, it takes money to do ministry, and some of the things that are slightly different about Oak Ridge, if you haven't been around for a while, is that number one, we don't do fundraisers, we do faith raisers. We don't ask the community build our buildings, we ask the body to build the buildings. So we don't ask companies and outside sources. We follow the biblical model that was laid out in the building of the temple where David challenged the people, and he started by saying, here's what I'm going to give, and here's what my leaders are going to give. And now I call upon the people of God to give sacrificially over and above your standard tithe to build this building. And that's what our people did. So they stepped up. And then the second thing is to pledge. So we asked them for a 3-year pledge. And we had about almost around 260 different member households that said, I'm going to give over the next 3 years. And I took a quick look at that, and then I asked you to make sure I knew what I was looking at. And I'd say there were somewhere around 200 of those that have, in fact, given something towards their pledge over the last year. Now, with that said, that means we got about 50 or 60 that have not given in the last year towards the pledge. So here's what Pastor Brian would say. Pastor Brian would say, just as Paul said, let your eagerness in the beginning match your commitment in the ending. So if you made that pledge, then follow through and give to that pledge, because it definitely makes a difference, and we need everyone giving. And here's the thing, it changes us. When we become a part of the miracle, we don't just say, look what they did, we say, look what we did. And it matters that we do this together, and every gift matters. It doesn't matter the amount, it matters the attitude, that we together are saying, God, all that I have is from you, and I simply offer back to you which you so freely gave to me. I want to be a part of the future of what this church is doing. So I want to encourage you to continue to give generously and to give faithfully. So thank you guys so much for all that you do in giving and being a part of this. And so guys, it's thank you so much for being a part of this special green room. Please continue to share your questions with us. We're here, and would they be able to email you?
Oh,
and
without doubt,
just send an email to M. Reynolds, MREYNOLDS, at orbc.net. Or they can just email dream@orbc.net. Either way, let us know. If you still have questions, we want to know. You can let us know, because we want to be a service to you. Make sure that you understand what's happening here at the body. And so with that, thank you guys for being a part. I hope you enjoy a great time in your small group. Here's my challenge. Ask your small group to share their stories of how they were a part of Build the Dream. God bless you guys. We'll see you next time.